What's up everyone, it's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and this video is nice and exciting, at least for me as a PC gamer anyway. So, Rocksteady have come out and gone over the PC system requirements for Batman Arkham Knight, which is going to be out this year on June 23rd for PC, PS4 and Xbox One. But, of course, this video is about the PC system requirements. So, it comes from two sources. Rocksteady have gone over their official system requirements for it, and it comes out from Nvidia's camp. And what's going to happen is they've detailed three different types of system requirements. There's minimum PC spec, or like minimum system spec, recommended system spec, which will most likely run the game decently at medium to high settings, and then they have the ultra system requirements as well. So I'm going to go over all three of them real quick, and then I'll give like what I think about them. So minimum system requirements: operating system, Windows 7 Service Pack 1 or Windows 8.1. And here's the key thing, which is kind of self-explanatory: 64-bit only. So that makes perfect sense. Processor: Intel Core i5 750 2.67 GHz or an AMD Phenom 2 X4 965 3.4 GHz. Memory: 6 GB RAM. Graphics card recommends an Nvidia GeForce GTX 660 with 2 GB of video RAM. DirectX 11. Hard drive, 45 gig space, and broadband internet connection required. So I'll go over them individually. So minimum system requirements, as we've covered: 64-bit operating system says it all. This is a next gen only or current gen only game. So obviously the current gen consoles are 64-bit architecture, and who doesn't have a 64-bit CPU these days? Fair enough, you might not have a 64-bit operating system, but you really should be taking advantage of your 64-bit CPU. So the fact that Windows 7 with Service Pack 1 or Windows 8.1 are the two minimum PC requirements for your operating system, it makes perfect sense. Core i5, first gen Core i5 2.67 GHz or the AMD Phenom 2 X4 965 3.4 GHz. Pretty self-explanatory stuff, most people would argue that there's not much of a difference in performance for i5 versus i7 of the same series, short of maybe a slightly higher clock speed. So I can understand the i5 being there as a first gen. That was the 64-bit CPU. AMD, it's roughly the same. Obviously, the AMD clock speed is going to be higher, but generally it kind of underperforms a lower clock speed Intel of the same ballpark. So they're roughly the same chip. We'll go with anyway. Memory: 6 GB RAM. That's standard for the cores these days. I mean, if it used less than that, I'd be worried. I'm surprised it's not using higher, but we'll see what the higher end system requirements hold. GeForce 660. Obviously, this list comes from Nvidia, so it doesn't include an AMD equivalent or an ATI equivalent card. So a 660 is kind of what you'd expect with 2 gig RAM. A 660 would be kind of the entry level for games that are releasing on the current gen consoles. So obviously this is minimum system requirements, so it is going to be running the stuff pretty low. It's a DirectX 11 card, which covers the next one, which is the X11. So it is pretty expected that would be in around the minimum. One thing that's quick to note is it's a hard drive, 45 gig space. So just keep that in mind. That's 45 gig for the minimum system requirements. Now, recommended system requirements. Operating system is exactly the same again. Windows 7 Service Pack 1, Windows 8.1, both 64-bit. The CPU has been upgraded. An Intel Core i7 3770 3.4 GHz or an AMD FX 8350 4 GHz. Memory's been upgraded to 8 GB RAM. Graphics card has been upgraded. It's basically the same model, but upgraded one series. So we're looking at a GTX 760 with 3 GB RAM, as opposed to the previous was a 660 with 2 GB RAM. DirectX 11, broadband internet connection required, and this one I find is a little bit possibly more interesting. Hard drive space 55 gig. Now that could be for swap file styles, however they want to handle the caching on it, and if it's not in the extra 2 gigabyte RAM they're using for the recommended spec. But it could be also for higher end textures. Now, that I'm not sure, so I don't know how that's going to be. I don't know how that's going to be held on it. But as we've seen there, the operating system is exactly the same with the 64-bit operating system supported. It has the third gen i7, considerably faster and more efficient, 3.4 gigahertz versus the first gen i5, which is 2.67. Again, the AMD CPU, it's a newer series and it's a higher clock speed as well, so you're obviously getting in there. 2 gig more RAM, so you have 6 gig minimum, 8 gig recommended. It's all going to be do with your caching basically. 770 with 3 gig RAM. Obviously the 760 GTX 760. My apologies. They generally come with 3 gig RAM. I don't even know if there is a 2 gig model of it, but it's got a couple of extra features over the 6 series. It's more efficient, and it's got the extra gigabyte of memory to do all your DirectX 11 funkiness. Now, here's where I'm really happy to be reading this kind of thing. The Ultra system requirements. Again, same thing, 64-bit operating system, Windows 7, Service Pack 1, Windows 8.1. You're looking at the same processor as before in the recommended system requirements. You've got the Core i7 3770 3.4 gigahertz. That's the third gen i7. You've got the AMD FX 8350 4 gigahertz. That's the same AMD chip as well. The memory is the same as the recommended. It's looking at 8 gig RAM. Now here's what I'm happy about in more ways than one. The graphics card recommended for Ultra system requirements is an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 980 with 3 gigabyte of video RAM. Again, it also has its DirectX 11, which is pretty standard for any card in the last couple of years. Network, broadband internet, blah blah blah. Hard drive 55 gigs. So for the recommended and the Ultra, you're looking at the 55 gig install, possibly for just overhead or caching, however they want to handle it, or maybe the higher res textures. But what I am really excited about, I'm getting out of breath here. Not out of breath. I'm going a mile a minute, but the GTX 980, I'm happy to see as there. Now, I don't have a GTX 980, I have a GTX 690, so yes, it is a couple of years old. It's still pretty fucking powerful. It actually outperforms a 980 in certain situations, so for certain games, you're looking at better performance than a 980. Those games are fairly few and far between now, to be honest, but there are a few out there, so as that demonstrates, it's still a pretty powerful card. So the fact that they're recommending a 980, obviously they're not going to say something like an 80. Well, the 8 series didn't get the desktop line, but they're not going to go with like a 780 or something like that. So they're obviously going to stick with the high end current system, a current model product line, whatever you want to call it, and the 980. So we've all seen all the shots and the graphics that have been shown off for Batman Arkham Knight, and they all look phenomenal. So I'm really happy to see about that. I personally I'm pissed off because we don't have I want to get the Batmobile Special Edition, but that's nearly impossible to find in Europe, with the exception of Game in the UK, which sold out in like 3 hours, which was a bitch. So my local GameStop and any of the GameStops in Ireland aren't even doing the regular Statue Edition, limited edition. So I have that ordered from Amazon. I have it ordered on Xbox One just because there's no PC version of it, but I'm literally only buying it for the statue because I'm going to get the PC PC digital Steam edition, and I'll be playing that because they both release on the same day anyway, so I'll just be playing on PC regardless of me paying for the statue, because I'm a Batman fanboy, including when I met Kevin Conroy last year at Dublin Comic Con. It was fucking brilliant. But that's pretty much everything for the system requirements. So let me know. Now I'm expecting people to go crazy at these for some reason, because people generally go, oh my god, system requirements so high for, say, minimum, and not even minimum recommended, not even talking about the Ultra. Actually, looking at the recommended, probably wouldn't even go crazy for recommended, but people are weird about minimum system requirements for current gen and PC only games. And it's 2015, get with the times is all I say, because it's nice to see developers abandoning the old stuff so they can actually make proper use of all the tech and advances we have in the meantime. So let me know everything you think about the Batman system requirements for Arkham Knight, or just anything Arkham Knight related if you're a console player. So let me know all that down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can follow me on Twitter. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the rest of the videos in my channel.